Okay, probably time for a bit of a brain dump. We'll see what works, what doesn't. So over the last couple of weeks, 2, 3 weeks, whatever it's been, to deal with Ryan's requirement for local access to the logger, I've had to, just for proof of concept, I guess, determine that it's actually going to be workable on the MCU. So I've learned a lot more about the ESP32 than I really wanted to know. Also learned a fair bit about an STM32F7, but that's another story. But I'm not going to do any more specifically with the MCUs because whatever I do won't be usable by Paul and Sammy, so there's not much point. It's just been to prove the concept is going to work. But I expect that from what I've seen, the underlying RTOSs on the MCUs, I don't know exactly what you're using, Paul, but there is a requirement to run MDNS, so you'll have to broadcast the service locally when the log is in local mode, and the app connects to the logger via a WebSocket server, so you'll need to implement WebSockets server on the device. But again, I don't expect that's going to cause you any enormous difficulty. What you will have to do, and which might cause a bit more pain, is you'll have to implement the encryption, because all of the traffic between the local traffic between the app and the logger is encrypted, because I don't specifically want any nerds using Wireshark on their local networks interfering with things. So anyway, that's where it's at. So to help, there's a couple of new command line apps which will help potentially Kirsten as well to understand what's going on, because she's going to have to document this and test it all in the future at some stage. So we have a stripped down version of the simulator here. So what it's basically going to do is what I expect the real device is doing. When you first power it up, it talks to the back end for whatever environment has been selected. I don't know how you're handling that on the real device, Paul, but for the simulator here, you just specify the environment with the -EARG as for the original simulator. So what it does, it will register and confirm that registration, and then it will wait for a configuration to be defined. So hopefully, if we run this now, we have seen it create a registration. So that's the data there, as you can see it. So that's the name just arbitrarily assigned to it. So if we go to the app, and obviously you can use the app yourself to do the configuration, or if that's not really possible, I'm sure Kirsten can help you do it, or do it for you, as the case may be. So if we do a refresh there, lo and behold, so that's that simulator has registered. And what it's doing, and again, I expect this is what you're doing on the real device, Paul, is you're just polling the APIs to see when a configuration has been defined. Because the important thing to note is, depending on the nature of the configuration, if the log is in normal mode, it's going to upload the data via the API, and if it's in local mode, it's going to reroute it via the WebSocket server. So this simulator actually is creating random data, but it is storing it in the local database, and it's publishing it on an internal bus in the app, or it gets routed to go up to the back end, or it gets routed to get published locally, as we should see. So what it's doing there, as you can see, is it's querying the back end to see whether a configuration has been created. So if we go into this one, and I'm not going to go through this has been done before, so I'm just going to say let's pick a residential 2-phase default configuration. Define the circuits for that. Yeah, we're all happy with that. And we're going to assign that All right, so that now appears over here, down here somewhere probably. Let's see. Oh, anyway, no point because looking down there, because it has now, oh, there it is there. As you can see from what the logger's doing, it has updated its specification, and it is now uploading data, storing it in a local database. So you're welcome to find that database and look at it. I've just reused the model effectively that's being used on the app. You can inspect it and try and break the encryption in it if you so desire. So that's uploading that data to the back end as per normal. So if, Kirsten, you were to then assign that logger to a customer, you should then see the data coming back via Signal R from the back end. But what we're doing here is we're going to short circuit that process by publishing the data locally. So that was the one there. So if we define a new configuration, actually helps if you click on the right logger. Anyway, got confused with the naming of it. I thought it was that one, but it's actually this one. So what you can see there, just of a side note, it is uploading data, and that's the status, Ryan. I've probably shown you that before, but that's how you know that a logger is actually working and uploading data. So none of this having to try and do it as you do it at the moment. Yeah. So that's about right. Current time, yeah, look at that, amazing, isn't it? Okay, so that's a normal logger. So it's all configured for normal mode. If we then, yeah, I don't know if that's an issue with this particular emulator. Pain in the neck sometimes. All right, so we're creating a new configuration. So when it was first done, it was set up for normal mode. So now if we configure it for local mode, and we just go through the same stuff. Sign it, so it's going to be local mode. Right, so what you noticed here is the logger attempted to upload data. I'll just stop this because this is instructive. It attempted to upload data for a logger that had been configured for local mode, and then the back end obviously complained about that because that's not acceptable. So what has happened now, it's reconfigured itself to run in local mode. And can we see it? Right, so in local mode, this is when you need to start MDNS, publishing the existence of the logger on your local LAN, and also the WebSocket server. So they don't run in normal mode, they only run in local mode. That's important because it impacts the app, basically. So what that's doing now is the data is still being generated locally, still being stored in its local database, but now it's being rerouted to go out through the web service. So I'll just let that run again. Okay, so it's doing its stuff there. So the WebSocket server started, MDNS has started. Now, theoretically, this is a simple client. It's an extremely stripped down version of what's happening in the app. So it will allow you to see what the app is attempting to do when it talks to the logger in local mode. So if we run it, okay, so I'm just going to stop that. What you've seen it done is it has done an MDNS query, and because this is running on my dev machine and there's multiple interfaces running, it comes back with potential, like the WebSocket server is listening on multiple interfaces, only one of which is going to really be workable. So that's what those failures are. That normally wouldn't exist in a normal environment. All right, the key point there's only one simulator or one logger running, so it should only have discovered one, which it did. And again, that's the one that we configured before. And it has connected to that, and now it's receiving data. So if we let that run, okay, so you can see the data is being published from the logger, and it is being received locally from the simulate, from the client. So that's working correctly. Now, I'm just going to pause this because I'm going to start it up in the app and we'll see what happens there. All right, so this is from the app itself. So it does the same thing as what that simplified client did there. It does a MDNS query on the local LAN to see if there's any loggers there, and lo and behold, there was a logger found. And so we accept that logger, the app will then start, and as you can see, it is doing stuff. What it is going to do, it is going to attempt to download backdated data, and at the moment I think it goes back a month. So every time you connect locally to the logger, it issues a request from the last time that data was downloaded. So it gives you the date of the last measurement, effectively, that the app has stored locally, and then it also issues a size of a batch that it wants the readings to come down in, and yeah, expects the logger to send that. At the moment, from testing, I've set the batch size to 100 readings at a time, which is about 300 Ks worth of data, which I expect EMCU should be able to handle without too much drama. Anyway, we can negotiate that if needed. So what it's doing now, it's just effectively issuing requests to give me batches of data until it's caught up. And once it's caught up, as you can see there, it's the logger is now publishing to 2 clients. So theoretically, if we go here, there's the live data coming through. So that data there on that client is what's being processed in there. So that is all working as it should. I've got some stuff to do on the app with that processing of that catch-up data, because it doesn't have access to the pre-processed data from the back end. So it has to do a lot of local processing, which is fairly demanding. So we'll just have to see about that. Anyway, the idea is that if they use the app in local mode, they still get some locally stored data. Just, yeah. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. What have I forgotten? So data has to be encrypted. MDNS and the WebSocket server only run if the logger is in local mode. There's these new tools to help work this out. So with both of those tools, Paul, if you run it, or Sammy, if you run it in -v flag, it will give you the payloads of what's going or being received, or from the simulator side, actually what's being sent as well, I think, from memory. Yeah, along with the encrypted data, so you can see how you are going to handle that. Yeah, so if we were to put this in the background again, as you can see, it's disconnected. So this is now only publishing to one client. And if we stop this one, it's now not publishing any clients. So yeah, I'm reasonably satisfied with that. So Ryan, just in summary, it's basically going to hand it over to the hardware guys now to do their stuff. And they'll just refine a couple of things in the app, but it's not going to impact the way it works. And I guess, Paul, I'll have to document some of the structures. I mean, you could probably work it out from the trace information, but anyway, I should document it. Thanks, guys.